Hey everyone, this is Tell the Truth Sports Radio. I'm your host, Ron Fitch, and happy holidays. I was away for the holidays. Now I'm back. I missed all the great games, the Cowboys losing to the Dolphins at home and the Ravens annihilating the 49ers. So we're going to break down this week's games and kind of tag last week's results. Baltimore and Miami. Everybody's all over Baltimore now. Oh, they're winning. They're clear cut the favorites. They destroyed the favorites that everybody said was head and shoulders above everybody else. Now the Ravens are heads and shoulders above everybody else. If Miami wins, then Miami's up there. You just don't know until you don't know because you haven't seen this group win before. They've been to the playoffs and lost. They're definitely contender. They should be the favorites, but we're going to see in this Miami game. What Miami has to do is spread. When Miami ran in between the tackles that gave Dallas trouble, as big as the Ravens are, you run between tackles, you're going to run into a brick wall. I think what they're going to have to do is spread them out. They usually like tight formations, but when you saw the Ravens versus Niners, they were batting down balls in that tight formation, and they ate the 49ers tight formation up. The only problem is if Waddle plays and he's healthy, they have speed burners. And they got good corners. Humphrey's good. They like to go man on man and get in you. But what I think Baltimore's going to do is try to use their base defense to stop the run and back off a little on Tyreek Hill. I understand their corners are good and they want to press him, but if you miss Tyreek Hill in that press coverage, he's gone. And Hill and Waddle reigned terror in Baltimore last year when they made that comeback. So that memory should be strong enough where they're going to say, "Listen, we're going to back off a little." And Miami's front four did a number on Dallas's offensive line. I know Dallas was missing a lineman, but they did a number with their pass rush. And Wilkins with his inside pass rush, they have good inside pass rushers. And Chubb is a big time pass rusher, and Van Ginkel is an emerging star. So their front four is solid. And what they have to do is be disciplined. You're going up, but the up the middle pressure helps because that keeps Lamar Jackson from getting into lanes. And statistically, Miami Dolphins are one of the best defenses in the NFL at stopping running quarterbacks. That helps because that's telling you that front four as a unit is getting home, not just the guys on the edge where you can go inside, he can run inside and get the 35-yard runs he did against the spectacular run against the 49ers. So that's going to be a key. Gus Edwards got to run a little better. They don't run it without their best, without Dobbins. They run it good because the scheme, Baltimore scheme is tight. It's solid because they run it well because Lamar Jackson runs it well, but they're passing it well. And likely, as a tight end, is doing a pretty good job replacing Andrews, who's their go-to guy. And then Zay Flowers is really the guy. Zay Flowers and Ramsey and Zay Flowers and Xavier Rhodes, that matchup probably decides the game because of the way the Miami plays defense, and they're good against the run. So I think this is a tough game. This is a game. I'll give you two scenarios. Baltimore wins if they run a little and they're moving the ball and they're playing as good as they've played these last couple of weeks, and they've blown out. They destroyed the NFC. They blew out the Lions at home. They destroyed the 49ers in their place. So they're and they got by the Rams. The Rams really moved, and that could give an encouragement for the Miami Dolphins, how the Rams played against the Ravens, how they were up and down the field on the Ravens until they lost in overtime. But I think for the Ravens to win, they got to turn two over, get after them a little bit. They're not other. I think Clowney has to have a out of body experience type of game. He's played good, but he's got to be superstar Clowney because they don't have a great front four. They get after you by blitz schemes, really difficult to diagnose blitz schemes, but they'll do that. But you got to get home because now you're leaving that secondary open for Hill. If Hill catches those slants like he does, and you get the wrong angle, it's a touchdown. Or if Waddle's healthy and their tight end's good, and another thing, Mostert leads the NFL in touchdowns. He has 18 rushing. Mostert is a terrific back out of the backfield. So if you're coming with that blitz, you got to get home and you got to be disciplined enough to make sure Mostert doesn't beat you in the screen game, which he's good at. He's just a good receiver. The scheme that McDaniel runs is good. Sometimes he gets too cute and he runs dumb plays. You get too cute in Baltimore, run dumb plays, you're going to be punting the ball back, and Baltimore's going to score, and they're going to beat you. But Miami's got to be smart. They got to protect Tua because Tua, one thing about him, he'll miss a guy here, he'll miss a guy there. He'll throw a really good accurate ball. Then on third down, he'll miss. I was listening to the announcer. Wow, he was open. He missed him. They got a punt. Wow, he missed him out in the open. They got a punt. Great throw by Tua. Great throw by Tua to Waddle. And he'll make some great ones, but sometimes he'll miss. You can't miss in this game. You better be on your game in Baltimore, or you're going to have to go back to Baltimore when the playoffs come, because this is for home field advantage. And if Miami wins, that doesn't guarantee them winning the division. And as I'm showing you on the screen, all of the MVP candidates that you're seeing, this is for the MVP. So if Lamar Jackson does this thing, I'd vote for him. If Tyreek Hill leads them to a victory, I'm voting for Tyreek Hill. I think the fact that he went to San Francisco and did what he did, and McCaffery was good, but he didn't put his stamp on that game like Jackson did. That moved Jackson ahead. And I think it's Jackson and Hill right now. I'm staring at those two because Dak, he was okay, but Hill was better. So now it's Miami versus Baltimore, but it's Hill versus Lamar. But like I said, for Baltimore to win, they got to turn, they got pressure to enough where he's throwing those inaccurate balls and getting them off the field, and make sure you're disciplined in coverage and you understand who you're playing. It's not the Niners. The Niners don't go deep. They just beat you with their scheme and their talent and their 10 to 15. It's a 10 to 15 yard radius that they operate under. And the Ravens do that. So they attacked them. And they were laying some licks on the Niners. And that's how they got the interceptions, because they knew that they didn't have to worry about the deep ball, even though sometimes they go deep, but it's not that blazing speed. With the Dolphins, they got to change up a little because McDaniels is going to try to every once in a while trick you or go deep or do those long patterns, those long post routes down the field that Hill loves. He loves to break through the zone. So this is going to be interesting, the scheme and the little things that have to take place. But turnovers are going to be huge. They got to turn two over. For Miami to win, they got to be super disciplined with Lamar. Make sure he doesn't get those 35-yard runs that energize the crowd. He's good in the pocket. So you have to put in that pressure. You're going to have to Rhodes and Ramsey are going to have to be big time. Beckham is the second. He's a good second fiddle to Zay Flowers. And they're going to have to be extremely good because they got burnt. And one thing that if the Ravens do this and the Dolphins can't stop this, the Ravens are going to win. The Dolphins have to shore up that slot coverage, because Dallas, when CeeDee Lamb was in that slot, he had his way. And if you put Zay Flowers in that slot, which I think the Ravens are going to do, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. And I just think that the Ravens are at home. They don't want to lose. I mean, they'll more than likely, if they do lose, they would have to root for Buffalo, which is possible to beat the Dolphins. And they'll probably beat the Steelers. Those Steelers have been a pain in the neck. And times I thought Baltimore was a little better than Pittsburgh. They would just lose in the last second in Baltimore. I don't think that's going to happen this year. But if Miami loses, if Buffalo's going to beat the brakes off New England, and Miami loses, you've led the division all year long. Now you got to go and play at home for the division. Forget the number one seed or the two seed. You're going to be on the road for the rest of the playoffs. So Miami has more incentive. Baltimore, they have the division locked up, and they'll be a two seed probably. They'll have the two seed locked up if Miami takes care of business and then beats Buffalo. But if Baltimore wins, then they don't really have to play. I mean, they would love to knock the Steelers out if it even matters. If Steelers lose the Seahawks, is moot. That's just a game that's meaningless at that point. But if Pittsburgh loses and then comes to Baltimore and they're out of it, and Baltimore has a chance to get the one seed, Pittsburgh, it was the other way around. Baltimore would want to do the same thing. Pittsburgh's going to want to do the same thing to Baltimore, so because it's a rivalry. But I lean toward Baltimore, but if Miami can get those big plays going and keep Tua clean, because they're one of the best offensive lines in the league at protecting the quarterback. And that's big. And Baltimore doesn't have a great pass rush, but they run exotic blitzes. And when you got Van Noy and you got Queen and Rukon Smith as linebackers, you're always going to cause terror to the defense, regardless. But I lean toward Baltimore, but Miami could definitely win there. But I'm leaning toward Baltimore just because at home. But Miami, they better win. I got Dallas beating Detroit because Detroit, I love the offensive line. I love this offense is complete. Montgomery is good. Montgomery and Gibbs at 1-2 punch. They run it well. Dallas is having trouble in between the tackles, but they're home. And Jameson and Pierre St. John, they statistically they struggle against man-to-man, and Bland and Gilmore are going to get after you. They're going to go man and dare you because now they're going to get after Goff. What the key is, I love their offensive line. Detroit's offensive line is nasty. They're not the best, but they're a mean offensive line. So they run the ball. That's going to be interesting. But if it's 3rd and 13, I feel sorry for Jared Goff. Dallas has lost these last 2 games. They're going to come off that ball at home, and they play fast at home. Detroit has a puncher's chance because of that running game and because of the pass rushers they have. But I don't think they're going to stop the Cowboys. So that means the Lions going to have to win in a shootout. But I will tell you this. If Dallas gets up early, don't turn the set off because the Lions are feisty. They play the way their coach coaches. And Campbell will not let them just get destroyed. So if it's 17-0, they could come back and tie the game because they're that explosive. And maybe they win a couple man-on-man battles because Jameson and St. John is that good. But at the end of the day, I think Dallas takes care of business. If Eagles win, I believe they win the division. They'll beat the Cardinals. It's going to be a close game. The Eagles are going to have to score a little because of Murray's is good. It's a game the Cardinals could definitely win. I just think the Eagles are due. I thought they'd kill the Giants, and they were going to kill the Giants till that kickoff where the return man ran into his own player and fumbled. I think the Eagles have a really great, clean game in them, and they're going to beat the Cardinals. And then that means that they're probably not going to get the home field. So that Giant game might not mean anything. And then the Washington game for Dallas might not mean anything. So you might have a couple of meaningless games. The game you're going to have to focus on, even if Miami wins, is Miami and Buffalo. Because Buffalo's trying to get in, and Miami still wants to believe they could get the high seed, hoping that Pittsburgh could pull off a miracle. The Raiders could beat the Colts. The Raiders on fire. Raiders defense, they stuffed the Chiefs. I mean, there's frustration on Chiefs. Chiefs are a mess. And I always say I still believe them. I don't know now. New Orleans and Tampa is probably for the division. San Francisco's going to beat the brakes off Washington. I expect the Texans to bounce back and win, and then turn around. I think the Colts are going to beat them at the last game of the season. And the Packers and Vikings are for the division, even though if Dobbs play, I give them a chance. They got to get their quarterback situation set because they are playing really good football, as are the Packers. But the Packers are more of a live dog if they make the playoffs, the way they're playing, and Love is kind of finding himself. I expect the Chiefs to beat the Bengals at home. They're gonna have to go on the road. I don't. If the Chiefs could find another receiver and kind of get their offense and going, because the defense is solid, because they gave up 2 scores on the offensive side. If they get in rhythm, they can go anywhere and win. So I don't worry about that. But they just maybe they're never going to get it together. Sometimes you win a championship the next year, it just doesn't work out.